My name is Jill Wandel, and I am the director of the Legal Studies area here at Metropolitan Community College. I supervise the interns, which are the students that are getting ready for jobs at the end of their different courses, and I also teach almost all the introductory courses: paralegal profession, introduction to law, litigation. I teach family law. I teach business law. I have taught laws of corporations, evidence and discovery, and state administration, and I think that's about it. Maybe business law too, also. Well, I'm originally from Omaha, primarily have always lived in Omaha. I'm a product of the Catholic schools. I went to grade school and then Mercy High School, College of St. Mary's, and then I did take some courses at Iowa State and also UNO in counseling, but then I got my Juris Doctorate from Creighton Law School. Well, originally when I got out of college, I did social work type work. I worked as the director of recreation therapy at Richard Young Psychiatric Hospital. I also worked at Eastern Nebraska Community Office of Retardation as a vocational trainer. And then I decided to go to law school following a divorce. And so I went to law school. And then I practiced law for 25 years prior to coming to MCC. You know, my very favorite teacher I had in grade school, high school, and college, and her name was Sister Muriel. And probably she taught history primarily. But she also obviously knew me from the time I was a little girl all the way through graduating from college. And she was a person who you knew cared about you, not just me, but other students as well. She had a great sense of humor. She made history come alive. I've always loved history. And probably her biggest influence on me was that she made me want to be involved in social justice. And she taught a lot about social justice, and that stayed with me my entire life. It still does. I had a hemorrhagic stroke at my law office, which really impaired my whole left side dramatically. And I knew that as far as trial work, I was not going to be able to do that anymore. And I took a year off and did a lot of therapy, and then Virginia called. She said, would you be interested? And I knew Virginia from law school as well as after law school. We had a few courses together. And I knew that she had gone to Metro to start the program because I was on her advisory board. I also often would take her intern students into my office to help train them. So we had this ongoing relationship. And during that time she called. She said, would you be interested in teaching a course? And I said, you know, I'm getting a little bored. I would love that. And so I got hooked. I got hooked on teaching, I got hooked on the students, I got hooked on Metro. And here I am. You know, I don't think you can help but teach what you are in a lot of ways, but I try to be open to the students because they may have different ideas than I do about what social justice is. And I always love to hear their different ideas. I am a big believer in teaching ethics when it comes to the law, because without that you're not doing anybody any good, period. And I do really strongly emphasize that with the students to make sure that they're aware of those ethical issues and that to always be ethical, because in my opinion, law is just another way of helping people. We're perpetuating the human race by solving disputes. And that if you're helping someone, you have to maintain that ethics while you're doing it. So I guess the answer is yes. Well, I have to say, first of all, I am totally in line with the mission statement of Metro. So that is part of my motivation. I feel like I'm at the right place. We have the same philosophies. But when it gets right down to it, it's the students. I love my students. I enjoy learning about them. I've discovered that I'm a lifelong learner, and that's one of my strengths. And this is the best place you can learn, not only from the programs that they offer, but the students come from all over the world. And I love to learn about my students. Probably the biggest thing that I've learned from my students is, number one, don't ever judge anybody by their cover. And that's just not even my students, that's students overall at Metro, is some of the kindest people have the most tattoos. As far as helping me, and that's the other thing that I've learned. I tend to be an independent person, always have been, but having this weakness and having to walk with a cane, there's times I have to depend on others, and I've learned that people really do feel good if they can help you, and I just have to open myself and let them. Since I've taught here at Metro, that's been part of it that I had to learn. Honestly, I'm not a techie person at all. Never have been. That's why I always had a lot of paralegals working for me in my office. I never had time to learn technology or didn't take the time. I would rather be in the courtroom. And it made more sense to hire people who knew what they were doing, and so that's what I did. So I've had to learn that, but I also know that the majority of my students, because I do survey, they're visual learners. So technology is a big way to help them learn. They love to have their trials recorded. They love to see the other students in their trials, and they learn from that, and I think it's one of the best ways for them to learn. Oh, it's technology for sure. I'm a one-finger typist, and as part of our program, we have to make these massive reports to the American Bar Association to keep our approval, and all of that has to be typed or computer generated. In fact, now they're changing it where I'd have to actually go online through them to do all of that. So being a little slow on the computer, that is honestly my biggest challenge. As far as technology, as soon as I learn something, and I have learned a lot over these 8 years, it seems like as soon as I master it, it changes, so then I have to learn something new, but that also helps keep you fresh. Well, first of all, I love gardening. It's much harder for me now because of my instability to be out in the gardens. So I have a very large deck that's covered with plants, even big container plants with tomato plants in it and other things. So I still manage that gardening, and I love to do that. I bring most of those inside in the winter, and I continue to garden there. My other big activity that my husband and I enjoy together is bridge. We both love to play bridge. We play duplicate bridge with groups, and we probably do that 2 or 3 times a month at least, different bridge. Oh, that's such a good question. I guess eventually I would like to retire and just spend more time with all these grandkids we have. We have a ton of them, and travel. Travel is definitely on the agenda, so that's probably what's next for me. I don't know that I'll ever completely quit teaching until I can't speak anymore, because I love it so much that even once I retire, I'll probably still want to do adjunct teaching as long as they let me. I guess for me, there was a time in my life, because I was a single mom going through law school, and we have a lot of students who are single parents. So I understand how the challenges that they have. And I know for a long time, every day I go, I am going to survive this. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to survive, because it was an economic challenge. It was a physical challenge. It was a time challenge. And then all of a sudden I thought, why am I telling myself that? I don't want to just survive. I want to win. And that changes your whole mindset. And so I say, don't just survive, win. My name is Jo Wandel, and I'm the director of the Legal Studies program here at Metropolitan Community College.